So I just wanted to talk about the idea of, we're starting to see how the game has changed and why we need to re-look at and reshape the way that we're doing traditional SEO. And up until this point, we've now run an event, we've created some really great quality content, we've now potentially turned it into a product. Now we're going to take that and then repurpose it. Now, the reason I want to make sure that you're only putting out the highest quality of content is because we want to be giving Google what it is that they're actually looking for. Because the rules with Google have sort of started to change. Remember, if you think about the objective of what Google's actually looking to do, they want to serve the best and most relevant content to their users, and they actually want to get them to that information in the least number of clicks. And part of the evolution that we've seen is certain industries and sites and websites that have slowly started to die off because it kind of goes against what Google's objective is. So we're actually seeing directory style sites start to disappear. There are still a few that are kind of rising the top. There's things like True Local and Yelp over in the States and a few of those. A few of those are sticking around because they've got past the point of critical mass. But there are other sites that Google's just thinking, hey, do I really want to send someone from my search results page to another web page that just looks like another search results page? And then they're going to click on that before they actually get through to the content. So we're starting to see that content start to die out. And as we started to see different updates when the Penguin and the Panda algorithm got rolled out, I actually got quite a lot of calls from people in similar spaces that were having like the same sort of issues. I know one particular individual who had a multi-million-dollar business that he'd built up in the directory space. It was extremely successful, a very sharp operator, knew exactly what he was doing, ran his business very well. He built up a sales team, engaging with them really well, getting leads, continuing to follow up. But what we started to see is it only worked with organic traffic. The whole business was built on this idea, almost like an arbitrage opportunity, this idea that I could get traffic very cheaply over here and effectively resell it over here to the person who wanted to buy my directory listing. But Google targeted those types of sites as the industry's changed. And I got lots of phone calls like that of people in a similar space, and those sorts of sites there we go, it was working. Those sorts of sites started to fall out of love with Google. And I've seen it where it's kind of like the tide was there, but then the tide went out again. And that's when you kind of, that old rule, or you might have heard, when the tide goes out, you see who was swimming naked. And it's like the tide went out and that the business wasn't strong enough to have multiple sort of sources coming in. And this is not an isolated situation. So the one I'm thinking of in particular got hit with a Panda update, then got hit with a Penguin update as well. And then the discussion, which I got all too often, I got lots of phone calls when some of these updates came through, is when do I hold it and when do I fold it? Like I'm in a situation here where I'm building something that potentially Google, they don't want to serve up my website in their index anymore because effectively what I'm doing is I'm putting an extra step in there. So this idea that you need to think about where things are going, you need to make sure that your business stays relevant, and you need to understand that industries change over time. And if you catch yourself on the wrong sort of side of the tide, you can get left high and dry. So the process, do we hold or fold? We've decided to go through, it's the rebuilding process, building out good quality content, authority content, and that's where they went through. But it's not a unique situation. I had many of these phone calls. So you want to make sure, just thinking about what it is that you're building, and that's why I'm all about building authority content and building stuff that's in line with Google's objective so that regardless of what updates come, you're going to be on the right side. That idea of what's Google actually looking for. These loopholes that they're squashing, the speed at which they're squashing them it's quicker, shorter space. The updates are just rolling one after the other. So if you're trying to play the game of just staying in front of the algorithm, you're playing the wrong game. We need to change what game that we're actually playing. We need to get our objective more in line with what Google's actually looking to do. And our objective should be to provide relevant and useful content to our end user and client for obvious reasons. Google doesn't pull out its wallet and make a purchase. Your client does, your prospect does. So think about creating and building a business centered around them as opposed to looking for that shortcut. Because a lot of businesses, they built diving boards, this idea that the whole business was supported with one pillar, and they had the diving board like this, and the pillar that was supported underneath was SEO. And if that got knocked out, it's not a very strong business. So not only do we need to build multiple pillars underneath this diving board to make it strong, I also think that we need to make each pillar extra strong as well. So I'm going to talk about how do we make the SEO pillar as strong as possible.